teach in the morning and the time in which I get back to the Hebrew. And they were out here, all kind of lawnmowers were going on. I was like, these people, boy, they're breaking the Torah. And I wasn't able to enjoy my full rest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you just lay down and you just want to, you just want to get your mind right, just be at peace.
Yeah, chill out.
Wow. And that's what I was trying to do. You close your eyes, you lay down. I had a nice little lunch, and I'm just trying to lay down and rest myself. And sure enough,
Here comes the lawnmower.
yeah, leaves, it's all kind of stuff. Let me share with you. Okay, so I'm glad no one's on yet. Me and you are going to talk right quick. And
Okay.
I'm going to with you, and I'm going to give you a background on the Hebrew language. Now, the Hebrew language is Afro-Asiatic language.
Okay.
It's a language that has been I'll show you a little thing here. I love, what I really like about teaching is that I come across individuals like yourself who want to learn, and that's who really want to learn.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard for us to, define, especially in these times that we live in. You would think that everyone would be excited about learning something new. And I don't know if it is because I'm older and I'm more wiser or whatever it may be. I don't see how I went so long without just having someone else tell me something. But anyway, the language, okay, family, it's an Afro-Asiatic language, and Biblical Hebrew is one of those languages. It's one of the branches of this family language. Okay. The writing system, okay, so it's a language itself, and within it is established by by its culture, and the culture on the Hebrew language is what determines how do you look at a word, right? So that's what it is. So it tells you, the culture of a language tells you like what the language is. So if you don't understand the language, and I was showing this to my wife, and she was like blown away. She said exactly what I said, which was like, oh my goodness, we're in trouble. Okay, so yeah, this language here, this language will tell you, like, that where we're from. And so a lot of scholars, they know this. The scholars, they know this, but they don't want to tell it to us.
Yeah.
If they tell you that it's Afro-Asiatic, then that changes everything. It changes who the people are and the identity of those people. Okay. So, so that's what it is. It's an Afro-Asiatic language, and it's been written in Biblical Hebrew. Okay. And then, of course, the writing system, they got a Paleo. You probably heard of this, the Paleo system. And then you heard of another Canaanite Proto-Semitic script. And script basically just tells you, why is it not working? The script just tells you how they wrote it. Like, for example, this script that you have here is English, like English letters, how they write it out. So that's a script. Okay.
Right.
So in the Hebrew language, they have all different types of scripts. Okay. And the script that you and I are learning about is what one would say the Aramaic. Okay. So that's, I want to be clear. So the Aramaic script is what it's written in. Okay.
Okay.
Aramaic script. And the Aramaic script is just a handwriting style. Okay, that's all. So that's how they write the letters. That's all. And so when you see a letter like an Aleph and a Bet and a Gimel okay, and a dalet. These are all Aramaic letters,
Mhm.
okay, but they're used in biblical Hebrew, okay, um,
Mhm.
but it doesn't change the meaning of anything. It doesn't do any of that. And so each one of these letters represents something that has to do with the culture, okay?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna get your email from you later, and I want you to send it to me, okay, or put it in the chat box, you or anyone else, and then I'll send you over uh, information about what I'm talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I want to show that to you before we also dive into the lesson today, because today is a brand new segment for the verbs, like I said, so that's a good thing. Look at all my pictures and stuff. Then I'll send you some things. Where is it at? Oh, come on. Is that it? No. Oh, okay, here you go. This is it. So what I'm going to send over to you is this Hebrew alphabet chart. Okay. And
Okay.
on this chart, okay, what you're going to see is the ancient script, ancient early script, and it was used for these symbols. Okay. So this first one right here is an ox head, okay, which is the head of an ox, and the name of it is an all, and the sound is an A sound. And this is what it looked like in a middle script. And this is look in a late script. And then here, right here, is the modern script. So they just kept changing it, okay? But they all still mean the same thing, okay? So that's where you got Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Here's Al, Bet, Gam, Dal, Hey, okay?
Mhm.
So they've made some adjustments, changing the letters, because as time, things begin to adopt and evolve, okay?
Mhm.
Because every society looks at things a little bit differently. You know, they've been doing it for a certain amount of time. They're like, hey, let's change the handwriting style. So they went from picture graphs to actual letters. So this hey right here means exactly the same thing as this. The only difference is when you have letters in Hebrew, like Hebrew
Mhm.
script, you don't tend to think about the pictures. And that's where the danger is because, you look at an Aleph and go, oh, just the letter Aleph, and it's silent. So, it doesn't make any sound. So grammatically, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, this a bet. It's this and it's a B sound. Okay. But you never think that this means a tent or a house.
Mhm.
You don't think about a gimel as being a camel or a foot. You don't think about a dalet as being the door. So your brain is having to make adjustments. So the only reason why you should learn this language is because it's your language. It's your culture. So everything that has to do with the language, all these letters have to do with culture. Everything has to do with culture. Every last aspect of it has to do with culture. Okay.
Okay.
I'll send that to you. And then you could be like, oh, and you're going to get fascinated if you're not already. You're like, wait a minute, this is different. Ain't nobody ever told me this. You're like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I've
So,
been,
huh?
and not to interrupt you, but I've been studying the middle script, and I'm just about every day I go over them, writing them without looking to see what they mean, and then check myself afterward because I
Oh,
write
wow.
the letter, what it means in what letter it is in English, the
Huh?
meaning of it. Like Aleph is ox, and it means strength. Like
Yes.
Dalet means door. That's
Yeah.
what I.
Yeah. So basically, the script is just a handwriting style, but you're still
Mhm.
learning it. So when you look at the Lamed, so you're already familiar. So that's awesome. Okay. So that's
Yeah.
really, really good. So praise the Holy One of Israel for that. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and of course, you know, I can help you understand what you're looking at because that's what we want. We want to get an understanding. Okay.
Mhm.
So, all right, I wish this was lighter. All right. I'll say, okay, so now I'm going to introduce you. This is a book that I have. Okay.
Mhm.
It has probably over 20 something lessons in it. So there's several books that I have. And these books are written by an author, and his name is, what's his name? His name is Nachman Markinson. And he's a educator for the Jewish people. Okay.
Mhm.
So you say, well, why would you use that? Well, because they have taken our heritage and they know they've been doing it for a long time. So
Mhm.
they're really bent on school and education. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm bent on it as well, because what they're doing is they understand if a person doesn't understand their culture, okay, or and even that we're creating a culture for them. They're creating their culture. That's why they got the Talmud and the Mishnah and all that, is because they're creating a culture and
Mhm.
and traditions and stuff like that, because they know without it you don't have a culture, you're not a people. If you don't have a language, that's why what they've done is, just on a side note, they've actually changed the name of the the word Shabbat. Okay, let me see. I wish this thing would work.
Is that what they use, Shiva?
Yeah, so yeshiva is an education center. It's a school.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So what they've done is they've turned around and they call the word Shabbat Shabbos. So
Oh.
okay, so they do stuff like that. They, they
Mhm.
change they change the letters and the meanings. Okay. What I mean by that is, who's taking your culture? Okay. They've taken the Afro Asiatic culture and has developed another culture. Okay. And the
Mhm.
culture is, it's a European culture. Okay. See, the language is an Afro Asiatic. Okay.
Mhm.
That's what it is. Afro Asiatic. Europeans don't say, they have a problem. Number one of the things that they've done is they turned the letter wa, which is a letter right here. That's what it looks like. They called it a vav. Okay.
Mhm.
So when they pronounce words, they say completely different. We say Shabbat. They say, why's my pen not working?
Shabbat.
They say Shabbos.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
What they do. Okay. Um, okay. This thing is
Yeah.
all right. So at any rate, I don't know why this pen is not working sometimes. It might be the internet connection or being live on YouTube. Okay. So as we mentioned in the introduction, this first lesson is going to serve, and see, they use here the name Hashem. And Hashem means they say the name because in their culture, they don't say his name. They don't say his name. They said it's too holy to be spoken, which
Mhm.
which which I agree in some regard to that, but I
Mhm.
have a problem with it because the Torah says that this is my name that you will, my children of Israel will always know me by. Okay. I also have a problem with it because it's mentioned over 6,828 times. Okay. And the only time that the word Hashem is used is never to talk about the creator.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Never. Okay. So as a general overview, we're going to take a look at this. So where the first question is, I'm not going to read everything here. We're going
Mhm.
to talk, because that's what education is talking. So
Mhm.
let's just talk about, we all know what a verb is, right? A verb
Yes.
is an action, right? It's a word that describes an action that someone or something is doing. So you could be doing the action or someone else can be doing the action. So when you look at the sentence, the boy is learning, learning is the verb because it describes the action that the boy is doing. Okay. And similarly, in the sentence, the girl is praying. Then we know that the action that the girl is doing is praying. So that's what the action she's doing. So in the Hebrew verbs, they're made up of how many letters? 3. That's all it's ever going to be. I want you to remember that. Okay. In Hebrew, there's always what you call a root. Okay. And the reason why they're mentioning a root is because, well, you tell me, what is a root connected to? What do you think? When I say root, what do you think about?
I think about the ground.
Yes. Yes, you're absolutely right. So, but where are the roots found? They're found where? Where are they located at?
They're at the bottom.
Yes. And they're at the bottom, but they're also what? They're underneath. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you have a ground and you have a tree, okay, and the tree has roots.
Right.
Forget my drawing. Okay. So the tree has roots, and the roots of the tree are found underneath the surface, and they spread out to different places. Okay. And it tells you everything about this tree. Looking at the tree itself does not describe, it has some characteristics that you can look at, but if you really want to know something, you have to go to the root. You have to go to the root. That's what you have to do. You have to understand the root in order to understand the tree. Okay.
Okay.
The Hebrew language is just that. It is a root system. Okay. And just like a tree has roots, family has roots, culture. So when I talk about, when Yah says that Abraham is the father of many nations, right? And him is
Mhm.
Sarai, and we got Yitzchak and Rivka, and we have Leah and Yaakov and Raquel, right? That's the root system to the growth of the family. So my understanding, right? And this is something that I've learned, and what I've done is different than any other Hebrew teacher, because you got one who would teach you the paleo, and they tell you, okay, this is what this means, and here's the culture. And then you have the other one who teaches you the grammar and so forth. And they never can make the two mix because of their hatred for the Jewish people. And so that what they're not understanding is the Jewish people would never, ever, ever have a language without the root system. The root of this system is found in the Afro-Asiatic Semitic language, which is the people of color, which are Black people. So we are the root to this language. Okay, so we understand this. Okay, it's been taken away from us, it's been hidden from us. But again, I thank them, and I say this often because what they've done is they've protected it, they've held it, and of course they contaminated it as well, because when they talk about modern Hebrew, what we're talking here is we're learning biblical Hebrew. Okay, so there's modern Hebrew and there's biblical Hebrew. Okay, so biblical Hebrew is not the same as modern Hebrew. The grammatical system, how to look at it and all that kind of stuff is the same. But what they've done is they've taken words out of the Torah and created words for themselves. So only they know what those words are. The people in their culture. That's what they've done. It's because they're trying to redevelop themselves as a people. Okay. I don't really knock them for that, but I don't agree with it. Okay. I don't knock them, but I don't agree with it. I know you said, well, that's kind of up and down, but no, the truth is that they don't supposed to be taking the words from the Torah and changing them. Okay. They don't supposed to take and change his name to what they want it to be when they feel like it. And that's the problem. Okay. And I say it all the time, but we can learn from them. Okay. We can learn from them. Yah has decided, like he's used a lot of other people, to hold on to what belongs to Israel. Just like when Babylon invaded, they took all the jewels and all the gold and the silver and all Yahweh's precious treasures, and they put them in their storages. And then once they went back, they got some of their stuff back. Okay. So this belongs to the children of Israel. So I don't want you to feel bad about us learning from them because this is what it is, okay? So the root system consists of how many letters?
3.
3 letters. And guess what? That's never going to change. All right. So once you learn the roots of something, then you'll be able to understand what is being said. So the first root, they don't tell us right here, but I know how to read it. This is a call. This is called a call. All right. And I got another book that can talk about that. That's a call. The next one is Devar. Okay. And the next one is Shamar. Okay. And these mean something. Okay. And what it means is these are the actions that it says. And so the first action is a call, and the call means to eat. That's the action. Devar means to speak. That's the action. Shamar means to guard. That's the action. Okay. You said, well, how am I supposed to remember this? Well, when I send this to you, you're going to know what this means. But you're like, well, I don't know these letters. Okay. So I don't know. So what I want you to do is go to the list that I sent to you. Okay. And I'm also going to send you a book too, a Coach Pam. I want to send you a book, How to Learn How to Read Biblical Hebrew. So you could get it. It has like 11 to 12 lessons in it, and it teaches you how to read it. Did I ever send it to you?
I know you sent Jared something. Let me see. It has something to do with Hebrew. It's learning to read biblical Hebrew.
Oh yeah, that's it. Okay. So when you read that, and if he could give you a copy of it, and you just like, okay, you guys learn how to read it, you'll learn how to look at these words and understand what they are. Okay.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. So that's a wonderful thing. All right.
Okay.
So don't get intimidated by it. If you don't understand it, don't worry about it, because you're going to learn it. It's never going to change. All right, so we're done with that. So what are we trying? Are we trying to learn words here? No, we're not trying to learn words right now. That's not what we're learning. What we're learning is what does a verb consist of in Hebrew? And it's a 3-letter root system. Okay, that's what it means. All right.
Okay.
The next thing that we're going to talk about, it says, okay, if we want to use a Hebrew verb in the past, the present, or the future tenses, and basically those tenses mean when things happen. Things happen in 3 different ways. Okay, in 3 different segments of time. It's in either the past, the present, or the future. We'll simply add letters. Okay, that's all we're going to do. All we're going to do is add some letters to the beginning, the middle, or the end of the root. Okay, so they're going to give us some examples. All right, so they're going to add something at the beginning of the root, they're going to add something in the middle, and something at the end. They're going to add a letter. That's all you're going to do. Because what Hebrew doesn't want to do is, we don't need, I think there's like 26,000 words or something in English, and they got a whole bunch of words. Okay. And in Hebrew, there's like maybe, I think 6,000 words, right? So significantly less. And because we have less words, that means that this language is a very concrete language. So they'll take a word. Let me see. They'll take a word like a call, this Aleph, and this, they'll take a word like a call, and they'll add different letters to it to make it past, present, and future. Or they'll add different marks to it to expand the meaning in several different ways, which we're going to get into. Okay. But the fact that I want you to focus on is that what we're going to do with this root system, in order for it to work in the past, the present, and the future, all they're going to do is use a letter. That's all they're going to do. They're going to use a new letter, and they're going to add a letter to it. That's all they're going to do. Okay. To make it change its meaning. Like, when is this being done? Is it being done in the past? Okay. And if it is, what you're going to do, you're going to add a letter, add it to the end of the root. So up here in this word Shamar right here, they would add that letter right here on the end. If you know what that letter is, it'll tell you something about that root. It'll tell you who did it. It'll tell you how many people did it, all these different types of things. Okay. The next part of this is, if you have a present tense right? Say the action's being done presently. What they'll do is add the letter in the middle of the three root word or letters, okay? So, and it means it represents that the action is in the middle of being done. And I want to send this to you so you'll have it. It's going to be nice for you. You're going to be able to read it. And in the future tense says that this has to be something that needs to be done in the future. So what it's going to do is add a letter onto the front of the three-letter roots. Okay, that's what it's going to do. And the action is in front of us. It's going to come in the future. That's why it's put on the front of the three-letter root. Okay, and here are some of the examples. When we look at that word that we looked at earlier called Shamar, which means to guard, okay? The shin, the mem, and the resh. Of course, if it is in the Paleo Hebrew, the letters will look different, but they still mean the same thing, okay? And the tav and the yod. So what, just based off this word alone, what is, and this is something that's in the past, okay? So they're gonna add these letters to it, okay? They're going to add it onto the end of the root. So if that's the case, the first three letters are the shamar. That shamar means to guard. The T is I guarded, okay? And so you would say shamar T, shamarte, okay? Shamarte, okay? I'll say a word and you just got to hear me. If I said the word davar, okay, that means to speak. So if I said I spoke and it said davar to speak, what would it sound like? Because if this is shamar t or ti, then what would be for speak? I spoke. What would it be? Past tense. What would it be? How would I say that? So this is shamar t. What is this? This is davar what?
T.
Yes. There you go. Davarte. So shamarte, davarte. If I ate it, it'd be a kalti. So if you know the root and you just say the root, shamar, davar, or a call, it would be a kalti, shamarte, davarte. That ti from here on out for the rest of your life will never change, and it always means I. So if you know from now on that these letters that are added onto the end means I, all you got it, and you add it to the end of the root, you know it's in the past tense because it's in the end, then you would know how to say I guarded. Okay, shamarte. From here on out, the ti is always going to be I, which we would call first person. Okay. And they have it for first person. They got it certain letters for second person. They got things for third person. Okay. They got first person common. They got first person plural common. They got second person plural, second person singular. This is all grammar. Okay. So that's the example for past tense because it's put at the end. And you can always remember the past is something that's in the what? The past is something that's done at the end of something, okay? And a little bit of information for you, because it's in the past, okay, it will remain there. And so if it remains there, if it remains in the past, that means that the action is what we would say, I think it's just not catching up. It means that it's completed, okay? And if it's completed in the Hebrew mind, it is perfect. It's perfect. There's nothing that can be added to it. It's perfect. You completed it, it's done. It's in the end, it's over, okay? The next word is the same, has the same root. And what's the root? The root is the shin, the mem, and the resh, which is shamar. But look what they did. They added the letter in the middle of this word after the first letter. They put this little one here, which is called a wa. Okay. They put that wa right there. And that wa is added in the middle. So if something's in the middle, you can say, I'm in the middle of doing something. So if it's in the middle, then you know that is presently being done. It's in the present tense. As they said up here, that the action is in the middle of being done. That's why they sit the letter in the middle of the root. If you know your roots, then you will actually know. Okay, so you got to know your roots. So that's basically what it is. So I'm going to teach you the root system. I'm going to teach you about the family. I'm going to teach you about the family because that's what the root is. Once you learn the family of words, which we would call roots, and they're only 3 letters. Okay, so the Aleph family has a whole bunch of roots. The Bet family has a whole bunch of roots. The Gamil family has a whole bunch of roots. The Dalit, all of them, the Hey, they're all family members. They're all families. So once you learn, and there's 22 families. Okay, so when you learn those 22 families, and who's in their family. And if you got a mother and a father, that's called a parent root. If you got a mother, father, and a child, that's a child root. Okay, so we're going to get a little deeper into that as well. But I look at the language in that fashion because it makes more sense to me. If I learn it from a grammatical standpoint, and we look at everything that we're learning right here as grammar only, and we don't understand the significance of the culture, you will not understand why they're using the tav. You will not understand why they're using the wa. You will not understand that because they're just nothing but letters, and then they don't have any life. So what I'm trying to explain to the class, and I'm teaching, is that I teach everyone about the life of the language and how do you connect the cultural aspects to it. And I know that the Ashkenazis don't do that. They don't do what I'm saying. That's the beauty of me knowing this language, because I can teach it in a way that our people can understand it. Okay. And I'm thankful. Here you go. So the next one is, here it is. Here's the Shamar again, right here. Well, what's the difference? Oh, they put a letter in front of the word, the root. They put it in front of the root. And the letter that they used was an Aleph. It's the first letter of the Hebrew language. And as you said, Akoti, Pamela, tell us, what does that word or that letter represent?
An A.
But more specifically, culturally, what does that letter represent from what you've learned so far about this letter? It represents what kind of animal, or what does it represent?
What kind of animal? Oh, an ox. I'm sorry, strength.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the reason why I'm trying to get your brain to remember this. And that's why I'm going to see that chart to you, because if you know that the Aleph is an ox and it represents strength, you'll understand the reason why they're using it as the letter that represents I on the front of the word. You say, well, they got a tav right here and they got an Aleph right here, and they both mean I. How is that possible? That's confusing for me. Oh my goodness. How is this the same thing? How is this still I? If this is I right here in the front and here's I on the back, and they're 2 different letters, and then they got I right here. So how many I's are there? And you can see there's what? There's 3 of them. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So, well, why is the Aleph I and the Tav I? I'll tell you. Go ahead, you tell me. Take a guess.
Okay, I'm guessing that the Aleph is silent
Yes.
and not pronounced.
Okay. That's a good observation. Talk about the Tav.
Well, that's a T.
Uh-huh.
I know that it means 2 sticks crossed, but other than that.
Wow, you're on it. See, you're already you're advanced. You're there. That's why you got with the class, because you're already you're understanding something. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it real simple for you. What's the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet?
The first letter of the Hebrew alphabet?
Yeah, what's the first letter?
Aleph.
That's right. It's the Aleph. Okay. What's the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet?
Tav.
Okay. So what do we got?
Beginning and end. Sorry.
You're
Aleph,
right.
Tav.
You got Aleph Tav, right?
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
All right. So now you can see that they're putting, listen, they're putting the Aleph at the front of the word because it's the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. That's why it's used for I. Okay.
Okay.
The Tav is used as the I because it's at the end. So the Aleph is at the end and the Tav is at the end. You see, the Aleph is at the front, at the beginning, just like the Aleph is the beginning of the Hebrew language, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got that. And then you got the Tav, which is at the end. That's the last letter. So that's the reason why they're using I at the end of the word. So one is in the beginning, which is the Aleph, just like an alphabet. One is at the end, which is the Tav, which is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Okay.
Okay. And for you to remember that, don't worry about it. It'll come to you. Don't worry. Okay.
Okay.
Don't worry about it at all. All right. What else we got? All right, let me clear this out. All right. I'm gonna send that to you. Any questions before we move forward?
No.
Okay, good. I'm just gonna show this to you right quick. When
Okay.
you look at this, you get scared.
Yes.
You do, huh?
Yes.
No, tell me why.
Because it's I'm not familiar with the letters.
Okay.
Like I said, I've done the middle, but not the modern.
Okay. So you're saying, so you're intimidated, right? It's intimidating. I wanted to show it to you because, when you look at it, you go, man, look at, here, I'll put it up here right quick. Look at all this stuff over here, all these words here, and look at all this right here, and all these little things I'm not familiar with, and all these little symbols and words and all this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So you're like, and then over here, you got something on this side that tells you everything. And you're like, wow, that's a lot to absorb.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain is going, I'm not used to that, right?
Right.
Plus, your brain is working from this direction over here, reading over here, right? That's how you got to Hebrew, right? So
Right.
we easily get intimidated by that which we're not familiar with. But what I
Right.
want you to understand is I want to make it easy for you. Okay. Basically,
Please.
yeah. So yeah, I'm going to. So listen is what it says. So it says now what they're going to do is they're going to tell us they're going to take one root. That's all we're doing. You're going to take one root, okay, one root word, and you're going to and that root word that we're going to take is Shamar. See right here. This one right here. And they tell you what it means. So it's not something you don't know what it means, okay? So we're going to take that as our example. And they're going to show you and I all the different ways that it could be used as an I, you, and he, etc. Okay. The reason why it's telling us about I, you, and he is because the I, the you, and the he or the she, okay, or them, and all these different things are talking about conversations. The action can be done on all these people. It could be done on you, or I can do the action. First person, second person, you, and this is I, okay, which is first person, okay. I'll just put first person. You, okay, and then you, if I'm talking to somebody in third person, he or she, okay, and that's singular. Also, too, we got a first person, a second person, and a third person that has to do with I as a common, plural, like us or we, and the second person is you, but you means a group of people, and then you have the third person, which is them. Okay, so these are all the different ways that they're telling you. Okay, so when you look at all these different ways that you have down here, don't be intimidated, because all they're telling you about is how the actions can be done by these group of people. Okay, that's all. That's all it is. It's telling you how the actions are going to be done and who's doing the action. Okay, are you doing the action? Or am I doing the action? Or are we doing the action? Are they doing the action? Okay, so
Mhm.
then it's telling us how that action is being done. Is it being done in the past? Is it being done in the present? Or is it being done in the future? And they tell us again where these letters are added to tell us what's going on. So when you see these letters, it's telling you this is in the past, the present, and the future. When something is in the past, it is completed. It's a completed action. When it's in the present, it's actively being done. So it's a doing at that point. And when it's in the future, it means I will, you will, he will, she will, we will, you plural will, and they will plural. So there's all, that's why there's so many different words here. Okay, because
Okay.
what we're trying to do is to get you to understand the three different types of actions that could be done in time. And then you got the people, the individuals, which is I, you, he, she, we, you, they. That's the only reason why this is full. Okay. It could have simply just told us how I was going to do it. But you know how long the book would be? The book would be that like blank pages. Okay. So let's what I call engineering. Okay. So we'll probably get to this page and maybe one more, and then that's enough for your brain, because your brain can only handle so much. Okay.
Mhm.
So right now, again, the only thing we're talking about is the past, the future, and the present. Okay. So I'm going to ask you, it tells you right here what this means. I guard it. Okay. I don't want you to pronounce the word. I don't want you to tell me how do you say it. That's too much. You understand? I don't want you to tell me. What I want you to tell me is and it tells you where it's at. It tells you that this is in the past. And why is it in the past?
Because the letter is added at the end of the word.
Yes. And that letter is the T. And the T means I. Okay. That's the reason why it's in the past. The root right here is Shamar, means to guard. Okay. And then you notice it's ED, guarded, meaning it's in the past. If it's done and completed, I've already accomplished this. It's complete. It means that it's perfect.
Right.
It's done. There's nothing to be added. Okay. You say, well, why is this important to know? Because when you read in the Hebrew, it'll tell you if something is being done in the perfect or or incomplete, or it's imperfect or perfect, or if it's being done. And you got to know how these things are being done. If you don't know, you're reading it thinking that you're talking about you as an individual, and you might be talking about you as a plural. When Yahweh addresses the commandments to someone, you think he's talking to a group of people when he's really talking directly to you. That is significant. Okay. So, so that's the reason why we look at these things the way that we look at them. All right. So that's perfect. Okay. And now what they're doing here is they're introducing you to these individuals. Don't worry about the Shamar. The Shamar all the way down is the same. It's all the same. Shin, Mem, Resh, Shin, Mem, Resh, all the way down. I don't care about how to make that sound right now, because what we're doing is this is a puzzle. So Shamar is the root, and all we're doing is adding words to the end of that root. Okay. So the first one is Ti, and Ti means I in the past. What's the next one underneath it is it looks similar to Ti, but it's different. So what's the difference? This one has a different marking underneath it. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. And this one has a different marking underneath that. But it's
Mhm.
still a T, it's still a Tav, it's still a Tav. So why the T versus the Tav versus the T? Okay. Because you're talking for T is I and Ta is you, but the Ta, I, because that's what it is. Ta, you here is masculine, singular. You're the end of you guarded. Okay, that's what the tie is. That's why you got the tav and you got the dot and you got this mark underneath it. That's masculine. That tells you that it's masculine. Okay. All right.
Okay.
The next one underneath that is a feminine tav. Well, how do you know it's feminine? Because it has these two dots underneath it. Okay. And the masculine has this underneath it. And the feminine has this. Should put a different color so you can really see it. So once you learn the difference, when you notice that this has a yod, that yod right there means I as well. Just that's another marker to let you know that that's I. Okay. The tav with the ta underneath it is a masculine. The ta underneath with the two dots underneath it is feminine. So when you see this letter added to the end of a word, it tells you what the gender is, and it actually tells you if this is a one individual, which is I, and this one tells you that this is you, and this one tells you it's you too, but it tells you you got to know the difference between masculine and feminine. So the people that we're dealing with, which are all these people, is going to tell you if they're masculine or feminine. It's going to tell you if it's singular or plural. Because you could be talking to one person and that one individual can be female. If you're talking to a group of females, it could be that she needs to be, you need to understand if you're talking to a female plural. It's still you, this is still you, but this is a singular and this is a plural. They all have the tav on the end of it, but guess what? They added an additional letter. So the letters, basically the letters are not on the end only to tell you about it being the past. The letters are describing the number of the person. If it's one individual, if it's two, meaning you, second person, or third person, them, or he, somebody that's not there. You understand? So that's how that's done. Over here in the future, it means that it will. Future means something will happen. It hasn't happened, it's going to happen. And the individuals can do this. It could be I will, it could be you will masculine, it could be you will feminine, it could be he or it will. Okay, because it could be a horse, a masculine horse, it could be it, a female, or it, female animal, will. Okay, and it could be we, meaning first person, common, plural, meaning we, meaning a group of us, we will do it. Okay. And then you have right there, you, plural, you, plural, they, okay? And they, of course, you know is plural. You know they right there is plural, but you got to understand whether it's feminine or masculine, because that's what you're always going to have. There's no transgender in the language. You see? It's perfect, okay? So the language is perfect. The language is concrete. It's a concrete language. And it means that it's absolutely what it says it is. If it says it's something that's done in the past and it has this on it, it's done. There's nothing to be added to it. If it's future, it's open to it to being done. The reason why they're adding a letter to the front of it is because it's in the front of us. It means it's going to be done. It will be done. I will guard. I will. You will guard. You, individual, female, will guard. And they have these letters to tell you to identify who's doing the action. That's all this chart is. So you can see now the intimidation is gone. The letters of Shamar is there. Shamar, Shamar, Shamar's here, Shamar's here, Shamar's here, Shamar's here. So look at all the different ways that Shamar could be used. Shamar could be used in all these ways in the future. Shamar could be used in all these ways in the past by all these different individuals. Shamar could be used in the present. The present tense ain't even here. It could be used in all those different ways by all these different individuals. So you could take one root, which is Shamar, meaning to guard, which is the shin, mem, and then the resh, and you can use this in all these different ways. But if you know what the letters are, if you practice what these letters are, and you put the puzzle together, then you'll say, oh, this Aleph is I will. It ain't just I, it's I will. The T over here is I. That's it. Okay. So future is meaning will. Okay.
Mhm.
See, so now is it as intimidating? No, because you already know that you got to talk to, you got to know who's being spoken to and how they're being spoken to. Because you want to know. Any questions? Because I'm going to send this to you as well.
Okay.
All
No.
right. Okay. So listen what they're doing right here for the present tense. All right. Here's the present tense. And then when you get this and bring it back, you know, when you bring it to, study it, you'd be like, okay, I know what this is. You know, I know how you do with this. So when we look right now at the present tense is very simple. It's not hard. Okay. The present tense is telling you that there's only 4 ways of us doing a present tense. Okay. So I'll say, it'll tell you what that is. And again, what do we got? I'm going to explain this to you. I is the first person, second person, and third person.
I is first person.
Thank you. You is a first person, second person, and third person.
Second.
Thank you. And of course, he is a third person. Okay.
Mhm.
Third person or it. Okay.
Okay.
When we say, and the reason why they're implying I am and you are and he is because these words right here are only used for translational purposes. There is no word for am, are, or is in the Hebrew language. There is no letter that's being used for a in Hebrew. So when you said earlier, oh, that the Aleph may be a, no, it's not. It can't be used as an a. It can be used as a vowel, but a consonant, it is not used. So the silence of it is used as a silent consonant, but it can be also used as a vowel. These are grammatical things that I'm going to teach you. But as it stands for the lesson today, that am, are, and is here is all implied in order for you to be able to translate it. Because you don't say I guarding. You say I am guarding. That's what you say. You see, that's what you say. You say I am guarding. And you don't say you am, you say you are. He am, he are, no, he is. Okay. And so what do we know about present? Well, presently, this is in the present tense, meaning it's happening. So in the Torah, it tells you things that are actually happening at their time. So when you read it and it's reading as ing, because that's what ing means. Ing means that it's happening. It's something that's going on. So when they were doing the action at that time, it was going on in that action. So you got to put yourself back in the story as if it's happening when they were doing it right then. So you can get context, you can understand how things were being done. Okay.
Mhm.
So these words here, which is I, is represented by this word, and that word is called ani. A-N-I, ani. Ani, okay? And then they got this word at, ata. So ani, ata, and who means he. Okay, who, right? So you're like, well, how am I supposed to remember this? Well, when you read your Hebrew, okay, what you got to do is you got to get up to speed. So as soon as you figure out how to say this, ani, once you get ani in your mind, it's always going to be, you're going to forget about it. Don't worry about it. You're going to be like, what is that again? I thought you said Tig was, I thought that was Tig right here. That's That's I. Yes, on the end of a word. I thought you said the aleph on the front is the I. Yes, in that in particular tense it is. So why are you telling me ani? Because ani means I. You have to, because it's going on presently, you have to represent yourself by saying ani shamor. I am guarding. Ani shamor. Excuse me, shamer. Shomer. That's an O sound. Okay. So that's what that is. And so it tells you all different ways. First person, second person, third person. And this is dealing with masculinity. That's the masculine. So they said, well, okay, masculine know how to do it. Well, how about the feminine? Here's the feminine way. The feminine is exactly the same as the masculine up here in first person, okay, which is common. So you don't need to say I need for a man only. You say I need for a woman. If you're the one doing the action, you're I need, I. But it's only in present tense. If it was I in femininity, it would still be the aleph on the front. If it was I as you as a woman, it would still be the tit on the end. You see? Because you're the person doing the action. All right. So ani means I. You have to learn this. Don't be mad at me. I know you're used to calling yourself I. That's easy. I did it. Now in your mind, you need to say this word, ani. Ani. Because you are what? A Hebrew Israelite. You don't no longer go by I. I is what they taught you in your over here. Forget about that. That's not you anymore. I am ani now. That's why I say I. Ani. Ni. Okay. Ani. Well, I thought you just wrote it this way. I'm talking pronunciation. The is here. The ni is here. That looks like nigh, according to what we would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So no,
Yeah.
no. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go. The I is the I sound as in the word for it, or pit, it, pit. It's the I. And we didn't learn in our grammar, they didn't tell us that that I sound is really equivalent to two E's put together. We thought two E's put together was B or C or Lee. That's this way of speaking out here. But in Hebrew, it is I. That's why it's called ane, ane, ane. That's who you are now, ane. Think about a woman named Annie, but you're ane, the ane, just ane. Okay, you got to practice it. Atah, I say Baruch Atah, I'm saying blessed are you, but I'm talking to Atah is a masculine. I wouldn't say Atah to a female because hers is different because she has a different sound. Her sound is at. Her sound is at. And a man is ta. Okay, that's masculine. And this is feminine. She's at. So I would say her differently. If I wanted to say you, when I'm talking to you, if I say blessed are you and I'm talking to a woman and I'm directly talking to you second person, I would go Baruch at. Baruch at. If you're talking to me and you're a woman and I'm a male, you would say Baruch atah. Baruch atah. I say Baruch at, you say Baruch atah. Okay. But we both say ani, ani, ani. Ani means I am. Okay. So we're seeing here again that we're always talking about masculine and our other idea is femininity. You can't get away from this. It's just what it is. Okay. Here's another word down here that you're going to have to learn because it's going to talk about we. How many people consist of we? It could be what? We is what?
Two or
We
more.
more, yeah, two or more. And then two or more could be masculine or it could be feminine. So we don't, in the masculinity of things, we say anaknu for both masculine and feminine. You can see it right here. This is the same as right here for we. But the one on the top is is identifying with the masculine, and the one on the bottom is dealing with the feminine, but you can see they share a naknu. Just like they share ani. Ani is right here in the masculine. Ani is here in the feminine. A naknu is right here in the masculine. A naknu is the feminine. Because everything that I just told you was a first person. And once it's first person, we share that in common. Even though you're a male or female, you're still a person. So you're a first person. Okay. And then also here, a naknu is still a first person, but it's common. We're sharing something in common. So you'll see a one CP, plural. Okay. And here again, it's first person, common, plural. We're still sharing it together. So when we're in a group, it's either a naknu as we, or if you're together as I, it's ani. Ani. I'll write that down for you. Ani. And the other one is a naknu. A naknu. A naknu. All right. That's how you get it. A naknu. So so what it is, you guys, is a puzzle. And the puzzle that you're learning is how to put the letters in the front of a word or in the middle of a word. And here, more specifically, present tense is about taking this letter, the wa, has an O sound, and putting it in the middle of that root. So that's, instead of being Shamar, is Shomar. And for male, if it's a female, it's Shomareth. If it's a masculine, it is Shomadrim, masculine endings. So once you learn, and then on the other one is Shomaroth, the oath. Okay. So the oath. Okay. But what am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to help you recognize that what we want to remember is that if we're talking present tense, the letter is put where in the word?
In the middle.
It's in the middle. It is in the middle. Okay. It's in the middle. Thank you, Sister Occulti Pam, for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna get this right quick, and because I want to send you the information, because you're always gonna be learning something, right? So don't worry about it.
Okay.
Just, it's something to do, and don't try to be mad at yourself because you can't master it. It's not, look, being in the Hebrew language is a matter of just learning, and it's forever. I mean, I've been doing this for several years now, and I'm still learning. Okay.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I'm still in this book. I've read it 2 or 3 times because
Wow.
I want to master it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So guarding is present tense, and I'm going to send this to you. Okay. And I think the last page that we're going to do is, yeah, I'm just going to give you some examples because I want to send this back with you. Okay.
Okay.
So it says all the information we learned in the first book, which is a whole nother book. Okay. Which is another book that has like 20 to 30 lessons in it that we have to go over. Don't let it scare you, because this is just what it is. Okay. Because you're on a pathway to learn. However, you will notice that we did not discuss the vowel in those verbs. So the first book that they did never discussed how these things work. Is this being recorded so I can watch it later? Absolutely. It is being recorded right now on YouTube. So I'm going to rename it when I get off of YouTube tonight, because we're live on YouTube. You're going to be able to watch it. Okay. So it is there. Praise the Holy One of Israel. So in the first book, they don't talk about the vowing of the verb. They never talk about it. Okay. They just tell you what a verb is. They just tell you an action, and they go over a couple of different words, which you're going to learn. Like you're going to learn some here, and you're just going to keep learning. And that's what it is. So for example, let's take the look at the word occulti. When you first look at this word, you automatically get intimidated. And tell me, why are you intimidated? Let's be honest. I want honesty in my class. Why are you intimidated? Why are you scared when you look at this word?
Just
Tell me,
like in listing of words, it's not familiar with it.
not familiar with it. Okay, so
Yeah.
if I take away all this right now, and I just got rid of all this, and you know what these three letters mean because you've accepted it in your psyche. This word here means to eat. Okay, and it's called a call. That's all it means. It means to eat. Okay.
Mhm.
Right. So we don't need all this down here. Those little dots and all that stuff is for a reason. All right. So there's multiple levels that you're going to learn. The first thing you're going to learn is you're going to learn the letters, which you're learning right now. That's what you've been studying, right? Koti, you've been studying the letters. You know
Yes.
what the letters are. You've been writing
Yes.
them down, finding out the meaning is. That's excellent. Once you go from the letters, you're going to go to next to put the letters together to make words. Correct?
Right.
One of those things. The only way that you can say the letters or the words is by learning how to read. So
Okay.
the book that I sent you that you have is called Learning How to Read. That's the step that you got to go to so you can read these things. After you finish learning how to read now you want to what? You get all excited. I read Hebrew like me. Then you got to go from there, and then you're going to go to your vocabulary. Okay, once you go to your vocabulary, okay, because now you know how to read. So now you got to understand the vocabulary because now you want to understand what you're reading. So then you'll go to the vocabulary. And after you go to the vocabulary, you go be like, yeah, I read, I understand, I know what I'm talking about. What you're learning right now is the grammar. Because you need to know the grammar. Okay. So this is the cycle. You're going to learn the letters, the words, so you can put words together. You're going to do the words so you can read the sentences, and then you're also going to learn the vocabulary. Okay. Then when you have vocabulary, you're gonna be like, okay, I know what it means, but what are all these extra dots? What is this dot right here? What is this? You know, I know that I use that to say ah from a long vowel. I know the next one is another ah, and I know this right here, these two dots right here means that's how you sound it. And I know the last dot right there is an it sound as in the word it. I know that. Okay, so I know how to do that. So I'm not entertained because I know how to read. I can say this, a culty. I can say it all day long. I ate. That's fine. But what you don't know is this. How did you eat it? How did you eat it? Okay, so don't be like me. I was so excited, you guys, when I first learned how to read. That's all I wanted to do. Once I learned how to read, I'm good. Then I was like, I'm being lazy. So what does it mean? So then I got the vocab. Okay, I got over 600 to 700 vocabulary words memorized in my brain. That's great. I know what it means. And then I got hit, and the Holy One of Israel said, okay, do you know what these things mean? Yeah, those are the vowels. Yeah, they're vowels. Do you know what they mean? Yeah, they're vowels. Ah, E, O, U, ah. Okay, everybody knows what a vowel sound is. But the Creator's not asking you just to learn how to make sounds. He wants you to understand, which I'm going to show you in our lessons, how to take a vowel sound. Okay, that's why you're taking vowel, because those are what they're called. They're called vowel points. Okay, you're taking those vowels to make sounds, and you're going to know what those sounds mean. Those sounds mean something. They're represented by the ah and the I and the ah here again, and the oo and the o and the oo. They're represented by marks, and they're called nakud. Okay, and nakud means a sprinkling, just like how Joseph had different lambs with different colors. They were speckled. So that's why they're using these little speckles here to identify how these actions are being done. It's a system that the ancients, especially the Masoretics, did because they knew that the language would be lost. And so this was a way that they wanted people to remember how to pronunciate the word. Because in the ancient, there are no vowel points. They're all letters that are written as you see. As you see right here. There's nothing there. There's no vowel points. So why do they have vowel points here, but they don't have them up here? It's because it's teaching you how to sound this out. But when you sound it out, you got to know how the sound's supposed to mean something. The sound has, listen to me, the sound has over 15 different ways to be understood. Is it going to be at all at one time 15? No, no. There's several different ways how to do things. You could do it actively, you doing it to yourself, or it could be being done to you, or you could be causing someone to do it, or it could be forceful. You could be forcing something, or it could be forced upon you. It could be a command. It could be desire. It could be a command from the third party telling the first party or the second person to do something. It could be the first person telling the second person a wish or desire or command. It's a whole bunch of different ways that things can be done. And that's where, if you learn the grammar and you put your mind to this, it's not hard. It just takes time. Why? Why does it take time? I'm going to explain to you why it takes time. It takes time because it is what you would call a root system. What you're doing is planting. Okay. So when you learn your vocabulary words, okay, is literally like you're planting something. And you're going, okay, so what do you got to do when you're planting? Talked about in our lesson today in another application about digging. You got to dig. And you got to be able to dig, and then you get down to it, and then you plant, and then you understand the root. So if anything that's worth planting and it's watching something grow, it takes time. So you can't be in a rush to get this done. If you learn what your roots are, you're planting seeds. And eventually, when you keep watering them, you keep visiting them, you keep watching them, you keep your eyes upon them, eventually it's going to have it's going to start sprouting, and it's going to come out. You go, oh, look, I just look at my sprout. I understand. That's a call. Oh, that's Devar. Oh, that's Shamar, because you've been watching it. So the Holy One is teaching us that the only way that we can fully understand anything is by giving things time and process to grow. It's all organic. Okay. So it's a root system. And of course, in Hebrew, roots are called shoresh. And it takes time to watch something grow. That's why you can't just be about quickness. Okay. So we're talking about our growth, and you're talking about your development. All right. And you do that. So you're learning different roots. And today you've got a couple of roots. You got a call, you got Shamar, and you got Devar. Okay. And they've been showing us how to use it. All right. Clear that out. Get out of here real quick. Someone wrote on here, and now I have to stop the share and come back again. Let's see. Oh, here we go. All right. So let me finish up here for us. Okay. So look, the example that we have here is this word called a call T. It's made of two parts, because remember, it's putting things together. They're going to separate it. They're going to separate the root from the ending. There's a separation as T, and this is a call. That's all it is. A call is the first part. T is the second part. Okay. If you know what the first part is, which is to eat, then you know the last part. It's just I. And you put it together, and you got I ate. It is a puzzle. Okay. So once you find out how to put the pieces of the puzzle together, you're going to be able to understand it. So you'll read it this way, and then you'll translate it this way. So I ate. But when you read it, you go ate I. That doesn't make sense. Ate I. A call I. A call I. A call T. Ate or eat I. Eat I. That doesn't make sense for us. So you go I ate. And because it's on the end of the word, right here, it's on the end, it's past tense. It means it's a completed action. It means that it is what? Perfect. It's done. There's nothing to be added to it. Okay. Very simple. So don't get intimidated by these words. They're nothing to you. All they are is just roots. That's all you're going to learn, is how to take what you put in the ground and you're adding something to it. Okay. And you're understanding the root. Okay. Now, was that hard? Is this hard? Somebody tell me, is this difficult? No, it's scary because you have never been able to plant anything. Everything that you and I have been doing, somebody else has told us what to do. Now you get to put your hands on it yourself. It says we're able to come to this translation without taking into account all the vowing of the word. So you don't need the vowel at this point, okay? But the vowing has a purpose, okay? It really does. So, however, please look now at the following word. It has equality. This is a whole different word. You say, well, how is it different? I want to explain it real quick. I want you to tell me the difference between one of these words and the other. And you just look at them with your eyeballs, okay? Tell me the difference between this word, here it is, this word and this word. They have exactly the same letters, don't they? The Aleph, the Kaf, the Lamed, the Tav, and the Yod. Well, what's different? Well, tell me about the puzzle. What's different between these two words? Huh?
I was going to say the second letter that looks like a backward C has a dot in the middle. and
Yeah,
the
that's
other-
a good one. Okay, so that's a good point. All right, so there it is. That's one. What about, there's anything else?
Yeah, it's under the first letter. There looks like a dot line, maybe.
Okay, so
And
here,
the dot-
yeah, here, yeah. So here, right there is a, what they call a kamatz, this letter, that marking. And then here's another marking, which is just a dot. So you're right. Okay. So what they're going to tell you is because these things are different, it tells you that this verb, which is to eat, okay, and it's I ate at the end, has a different way that it's being eaten. Okay, and it's about to explain it to you. So it's letting you know that the little dots that you have underneath your roots, if those dots are different or those markings are different, it tells you that this root is the same root, has the same root, but now it's going to tell you how this root is coming up out of the ground. I'm just using agricultural terms so you can stay with me. How is it being spoken? How is it being done? And that's what we're going to learn. So those are the differences. So you caught that. That's good. So because they're different sounds, like for example, this sound right here, is a long ah. Okay, it's ah. So it's ah called T. Okay. This sound down here is called I, I, I called T. Okay, so to be I call T. Forget about me writing this. I'm just writing now so you can sound it out. This is I call T. Okay, see? So one is ah and the other one is I. See? This is the first letter, right? One is ah because the aleph is silent. You don't have to say the aleph. So you just say this. So that's ah. Ah, and this one is I. For some people, that's not a big deal. Ah and I. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Why? Because those sounds are different and they determine how the action is being done. Now, let them explain it to you because you're going to get this. But now that you're getting a background on it, when you read it on your homework during this week and your review, you'll be like, oh, I get it now. I understand. So look at what it says. So again, we're going to break down the puzzle. The puzzle is take the root, okay, which is here, a call, and then a T on the end. It still means I ate. It should be that. I ate. There's a T meaning I. You guys got that. So it should mean that. And then here's a to eat. So everything looks cool. But how could this be? How could it be exactly the same when it has different markings on it? The answer to that is they asked the question, how could this be? We just saw above that the occulty means I ate. There's nothing on accidents here. And you cannot say that they are the same word. They're not, because the ah is under the first letter of occulty, whereas the I has an I underneath it of a occulty. So they are clearly different words, but what's the difference? What is the difference? That's the question. Let the cat out of the bag. He just kind of asked that question, left you hanging. I just already told you what it is. Okay. Before we start to answer that question, let's look at another similar word. The next word is what? This word called occulty. Occulty. Right here, it has this letter added to the front of this root, and then it has a letter on the end. So it's made up of three parts. So the first part is a call, meaning to eat. The T on the end tells you who's doing the action and where is it at. It's in the past tense because it's added on the end, and it means I. We already know it means that. So basically, it seems to have, once again, I ate, right? But now we got an issue. But for sure, this can't be the case. Why? Because the verb there is not just changed in a vowel. Now what they've done is they've added a letter to the front of this. Okay. So it's just not a change in the vowel like we saw in the above example with the occulty and the occulty. There is much more of a difference. There is an extra letter, a hey, added onto the front of this verb as well. This obviously makes the word different from occulty and occulty, but what's the difference? That's the question. The question is not just it's an extra letter added. That's not the answer. To answer all these questions is very simple because it is. It's not, it may not appear to be simple, but it is. Okay. We know that the root is a call. That's what we know. We know that that's the root. We've already told it, already understand it. This is the root. We know it's an act of eating. It's an act. However, the act of eating can be done in three different ways. Okay. Number one, I can eat it in a simple, normal fashion. I eat. The next way it can be done is I can eat with a forceful, intensively way, meaning I devour. The next way is I can cause someone to eat. So I fed or I feed that person. These are the three different ways. And these are just three of them. There's more. But they just want to talk about these three because this is the foundation of understanding the Hebrew language and the grammar. Okay. So there's three ways. And you're going to get this. There's three ways. A simple, normal fashion, or with forceful intensively. So you can eat something regularly, like I ate my sandwich, or you can devour your sandwich, scarf it down, or you can take that same eating mechanism and you can feed someone. You can cause someone else to feed. Okay. So from the one action of eating can come out three different English words. I eat, I devour, and I feed. Okay. And what does that mean? That you could take one root and it can have three different ways of doing, not three different meanings, three different ways. So in the Lashon HaKodesh, which is the set apart language, because that's what Lashon means. It means the tongue. HaKodesh means set apart. Okay. The Lashon HaKodesh, however, we do not have three different words for these three acts. There's not three different words. All we're doing is really just taking the one root that we have, because this is the root. And guess who wrote the language? Yahweh did. He's telling us this is what a call means. So, which we know is the root of the word to eat. And so what we do is if you want to change something, you simply change the vowels or add certain letters to achieve these three different words. This is going to be the answer to the above questions. And so in these three different forms that you saw, occulty, and heculty corresponds to these three actions. Occulty means I ate. Occulty means I devoured. I did it forcefully. Heculty means I caused someone else to eat. I fed. Same roots all the way down, but just different vowels. Just different vowels. The ah, the I, and the he. Okay. So amazing. Simply by changing the vowels or by adding a letter to the root, we create 3 different words. Because it's different. One is I ate, one is I devoured, and the other one's I fed. So now you can see why there's literally 26,000 English words and like 6,000 to 7,000 Hebrew words, because they don't need all those additional words. They'll just take one root and create more words off of that one root. Once you learn the root, which is your vocabulary, then you're going to be good. Once you start getting those seeds down in the ground, you'll be able to understand what everything means. So the first letter of the root had an ah underneath it. Okay. And in your blue book that you have, which is called Learn How to Read Hebrew, it tells you how to say this. It's ah. Okay. And that's the sound. So one of the things that I do in my teaching is I don't just tell you what this means by looking at it. I tell you what the sound is. Because the sound, when you hear it, it'll tell you. If I say, I called. If I say, I called, you should be hearing it like, ah. If it's ah, it means that it's very simple. If I say, it called, you'd be like, oh, that's, that. Okay. Tell me which one sounds more intense. Ah. Or, which one has more intensity in it?
The latter.
The latter, which is I. So anytime you hear I, you'd be like, oh, that's intense. Okay. So one example that we have too is that when the creator spoke to Moshe, he spoke to him in an I sound. He spoke to him in a very forceful manner. The commandments were given to Israel with force and intensity. And you can see that by the fire, the earthquake, the sound of the shofar, the darkness, the lightning, the thunder, and all that. Okay. But he also tells you to teach your children. And guess what? How he's telling you to teach your children? Is you think he's telling them to do an ah on them, or do you think he's trying to tell them to do it?
Yeah.
You better teach them what it is. You better teach it with intensity. So do you guys now see why when I teach with intensity?
Yes.
See why I started screaming and going crazy? Because why? Because the word of Elohim has to be brought about with force. Not to force you, but to get your attention. Okay. So that's the reason why. So when you look at these sounds, the sounds are going to tell you how something's being done. Okay. So it's not just the marks. The marks are great. They just give you an idea, but the marks are only there to give you a sound. Once you learn the sound, you'll know what the intensity is. You'll know if it's basic, or you'll know if it's intense, and it'll put a letter on here to give you a sound. And that sound will tell you right there that the head on the front of this tells you that it is something that you're causing. And I'm not talking about a noun, I'm talking about a verb. A noun is, you can put a hey in front of a noun and it means the. Okay, but you got a hey in front of a verb and it means what? It means cause, causative. Okay, so this is a lot to think about. It's a lot to understand, but you're going to get it. And this is why you're going to read this for the rest of this week. This is your opportunity to go over it yourself. Okay. And here again, it says, so as we saw above, the ah is I ate, the I is I devoured, and the he on front of that means I fed. And there's some notes right there that you can read when you get a chance at the bottom. I want to go over that. Okay. And then of course, let me see. All right, so that's pretty much it for our lesson tonight. I'm going to send you these pages here all the way to page 7. Okay. You're going to page number 7. Matter of fact, I'm going to send you. No, you don't want to do it. Send the whole lesson, because literally I just covered the whole lesson. Okay. These other things are just information to kind of give you an idea, look at a chart and tell you what they're going to name these groups. And so that's literally part of your homework as well. Do not get intimidated by these marks. They're just marks. That's all they are. Don't get intimidated by it. You'll see it. When you look at it, you'll be like, wait a minute, it's not as bad as I think. Okay. So I'm going to send the whole entire lesson to you. All right. Any questions? No questions? All right, well, that's okay. If you have questions later on, I want you to just get your questions together. And if you come to class next week, and trust me, when you stay on this, I'm telling you, when you stay on this, you'll understand things. You'll understand when the Holy One of Israel says that Abraham had faith, it was because Yah gave it to him. He didn't muster it up this himself. When you read that, the whole time you've been saying that Abraham believed Elohim, and therefore righteousness was imputed to him. No, it doesn't say that. It says that Yahweh caused him to have faith. Like how it just said that causative. Yeah, if you fed somebody, they didn't feed themselves, you fed them. So here is in that verb tense, it's saying that Yah caused Abraham to have that faith and that trust and that belief. That didn't come out of Abraham. Yah caused that for him. You understand? That's different. That destroys the argument that the Christians have to say that, you got to believe. Because Abraham believed. You got to have the same faith that Abraham had. Believe that someone died. That's not true. But you only have that kind of power if you follow the language and you understand it. So you have a purpose behind learning the language. You're not just doing it so you and I can go around and say, Shabbat Shalom, Toda Rabah, Laila Tov, Tov Meod. Those are nice words to say. That's wonderful. But do you really want to know what's being spoken? Do you really want to know what the Holy One of Israel has said to his people? Do you really want to know? And when he says, the Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, U'ahavata et Yahweh Eloheka, that ka on the end is talking to an individual. But he addressed it to the nation. But within the nation, there's only a certain amount of individuals that are going to love Yahweh with all their mind, their heart, and their soul. Even though he's talking to the whole group. Moshe says, Shema Israel. That's the group. That's the common, everybody. Listen, Israel. Yahweh Eloheinu. Yahweh is our Elohim. Nu on the end is our. So it's still a group project. Yahweh Akkad. Yahweh's one. That's what he wanted them to know. Then he said, U'ahavata. U'ahavata. Ta, ahav means to love, and ta means you. You, individual, are to love Yahweh. Well, you said ta, or ta on the end means masculine. Well, when there's a group of people, whether it's masculine and feminine, if there's one man in that whole group, it's going to be called ta, because Yahweh acknowledges that man. Even if a woman, it was all women and one man, it's still ta. Okay, in that individual. Okay, if it says sons of Israel, is that only the males? No, it's both male and female. Okay, you guys are included among the sons. You guys are included about, like I said, you're a cult. You're still an ak. You're just a feminine ak. You understand? So my point is that the Holy One of Israel, when he speaks, sometimes he'll address a group, and within the group, he'll talk to the individual. And if you don't know that he's talking to, and you think he's talking to the whole group, then you would think that, your obligation is the whole group has to do this. And he's not talking to the whole group in a lot of instances. A lot of instances when he says that you should turn back to me with a whole heart, and you, individual, to do what I asked you to do. So he's not looking for everybody to do it. He wants everybody to do it, of course, but everybody's not going to do it. So whoever's in the group that I'm talking to, who's listening to me, you're the ka. Okay, so Ahavata Yahweh Eloheka, your Elohim. You're to love him, the uva call levaveka, your heart. Uva called with all of your nafshika, your soul, individual, and meodeka, right? And with all your strength and your might, with everything that you have. So that's, if you learn that, you're going to get what he's saying. You're going to know the difference between something that's being simple or something that's being done forceful. Because it changes the mood, and it changes the tense, and it lets you know the person, the number of people being talked to, and the gender. So you can understand, who is he talking to? Am I talking about the past, the present, or the future? You got to know this. If you don't know this, then what you're doing is reading someone else's translation, which I find errors all the time in the translation, even though the complete Jewish Bible is written by David Stern, which he's a Jewish man, he's 98% on, and the other 2% he's off. Because sometimes he uses words to push his agenda, because he did write the other side of that book, which is called the New Testament. Okay, so he's one of those. So, but overall, the edition of the Complete Jewish Bible is like 98% on. Okay, and so when I read the Hebrew, I compare the English translation, what David Stern did, to the Hebrew to see if it's in the tense, or to understand it. Even sometimes when he says you think he's talking to you as an individual, and he's not just talking to you, he's talking to the group. So that's why you got to know the difference between Ka and Kim. You understand? You got to know these things. Otherwise, you're going to think you means you as an individual, when it might just be talking to the whole group of you that he's talking to. Or you might think it's you, the whole group, when he's not talking to the group, he's talking to you. So this is where they get you, because if you don't know the words, then they can deceive you. And that's how they get us. They get us through words. That's why they took our language and our tongue away from us. There's all kind of evidences all over the place in churches all over this country. I think they found one where they got Hebrew writing all in the church. Okay, that was on their pews and everything, because they understood it. This was beaten out of us. Okay, this was taken away from us. So when Yah says, I'm going to reverse your exile, he begins to reverse the exile, not only physically, okay, and not only spiritually, but he begins to start giving us back our culture and start giving us back the beauty of who we are as a people. And one of the things that's part of a culture is a language. And so we're not reading this so we can go and just talk to each other in this tongue, because Yah says, of course, when I bring you back, I'm going to give you a pure tongue. I'm going to give you a pure lips, so you could be able to call upon my name without any profanation on it. And all that's going to be restored back to us. So this English language is a bastardized language. What I mean by that is you might have one word called bear, and you don't know whether it's an animal or whether it's to lift or that which is nakedness. You don't know. You just don't know. You understand? Or two. Does it mean the number two, or two somewhere, or two emphatic? What does it mean? You see? So it's all kind of stuff like that. They have the same sound that can have several different meanings. And that's not something that the Hebrew language does. It actually brings you back to saying, no, this is concrete. This is what it is. And there's not going to be any change. There is no word for angel in the Hebrew tongue. There is no word for God. Okay. There's a name God for a son of Israel named God. That's how you say his name. His name is God. So is he God? No. See what I'm saying? So, when we get here, you're going to be able to tell people that doesn't exist. And they're going to get mad, because they're going to be like, no, that does exist. This is what it says. You'll say, that's not what it exists. Okay. So I'm trying to equip you guys so you can, number one, learn this for yourself and have a lot of power. There's a lot of power in this language. I go to synagogues. I go to kabbads. I talk and debate with people in different states and all over the country, because I'm able to understand the language. I'm able to understand. They say, well, who taught you? I'm self-taught. Well, that's impossible. No, it's not. The class that you guys are getting right now is about $1,800. You could go look at it. The Hebrew Institute over in Jerusalem, the so-called Jerusalem, is $1,800 just to learn the basics. The grammar and stuff, that's even more. So I decided I don't want to pay that money. And when I asked them, what does it include? They told me everything I already knew. So I was like, I scratched that. I'll learn on my own. And I did learn on my own. And I do use the resources that they created. So this is what it is. Okay. So with that being said, I say, I hope you guys enjoyed your lesson tonight. And I'm looking forward to you continuing. All right. So I'm going to send you guys over this information, and we'll go from there. Okay. So plan on getting a lesson in the mail.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, you guys have a